You turn on your microphone, please. Yep. Ma'am.
Call the meeting to order of the Historic Preservation Commission for April 14th, 2023. We did not receive a copy of the minutes, therefore we cannot approve them, and they're not attached to the agenda. So hopefully they can be mailed out to us and they will get approved at the next meeting. We will start with the matters of discussion. The election of a new chairperson. That has been discussed with Vice Chair Stuart Bowling, and Stuart is not in a position at this time to step up to the chairmanship. Rich Gilpin has expressed the possibility that he will, but he's out of town at this time and couldn't join us today. So again, that will just be tabled for the moment till we can get to the bottom of that. Okay, next item is the purchase of trunks in the museum building on loan from Mike Ryce. These two trunks have a history that we can verify because there are papers in the trunk that state that these trunks were sent to Mrs. Diggs of La Plata from Washington, D.C. and came down on the train to La Plata. Mr. and Mrs. Ryce bought them at a, I guess we would call it a market over in Hughesville many, many years ago. And they put it on loan to the train station when the train station was under the care of the historic, the Charles County Historical Society. So the Historical Society is no longer at the train station. They have gone back over to the college, to the Friendship House. The trunks have remained there all this time. They were there when the Historic Preservation Commission came into being and has stayed there. It seems Mrs. Ryce called the town hall recently on another matter and brought up the two trunks. And so that was referred to me. I went over and met Mr. Mike Ryce at the train station. We had a very long conversation. He said he was willing to sell the trunks to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I asked at what price, and he quoted me $400. So we need.
Two trunks are they?
Which two trunks?
Yes.
I will let Stuart explain which two
Oh, okay.
trunks those are.
Okay.
Would describe, it's the two biggest ones. I don't
Two
have cows
biggest.
on the mic.
Two biggest, but,
Yeah, yeah, the right front. They're not the ones on the side. They're right in front.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And
They're the ones that we knew had stuff in them, that we had been through that stuff.
Thank you.
okay,
There we go. That's better.
okay. After I met with Mr. Ryce, Stuart went over to the museum and opened the trunks up, and I'm gonna let you take it from there, Stuart.
Well,
as far as the history
we
of
were
it.
just trying to verify that the story behind the trunks had merit and it was true. And I opened up, I noticed that on the outside of each trunk, there is a either worn or partial sticker or tag describing that it did go through the La Plata freight station. It had been shipped to La Plata. And then inside I found really almost powdered fragments of a label, a shipping label that somebody put in a sleeve, in a plastic sleeve, I guess, to try to protect what fragments were left, describing that it had been shipped to Miss Diggs. I also found there's paper in the bottom of one, and if you lift the paper up, there's an intact receipt for clothing, I think, that was cleaned in Washington, D.C. and then shipped back to La Plata to Miss Diggs. So I'm fairly confident that these are both from the Diggs family.
So who is Mike Ryce? Is he a Diggs?
No, he's a gentleman from over in Mulberry who purchased these over at Hughesville many, many years ago. At least 20, Could be 25, 30
And
years
he
ago.
Just loaned them to the.
Yes. Now, I was able to verify he had with him a piece of paper that stated, and it was on the letterhead from the Charles County Historical Society. And it was about 2 or 3 sentences. I don't have a copy of it, but it just stated that he had put them on loan to the museum. Now, in the bottom of the trunks, somebody had typed up papers to say that they were donated.
Yes,
Um,
I forgot that part, but yes, there's,
so the question was, were they donated? Were they loaned? I have talked to somebody with the Charles County Historical Society to see if they could go back through their minutes and verify this. We think it was back in about 83 or 84. I have not heard anything back from them. So, I have no idea what was in the minutes. So the question is, do we want to purchase these at a price of $400? Do we want to go back? And I asked Mr. Ryce recently, I said, if the Historic Preservation Commission does not purchase them, would you be leaving them there? He said, no, I would probably be taking them back to my childhood home, to the house where I lived over in Marbury. That's about 100 years old. So,
I tell them to split the difference. It's just a question whether it was donated or not. I say, just to be fair, I think you're entitled to some money. I give them I offer them $200.
I don't know what the market is on these types of items.
I think he purchased them for practically nothing.
Yeah, if you got them from the bargain barns, he got
Yeah,
them
the bargain barn.
small.
Yeah. He got them for practically nothing. So,
Yeah,
So-
that's very good. Good.
I mean, I guess the receipt would tell us what he paid for them and whether or not he's offering us, and whether he's trying to gouge us on. 400 seems like a healthy price, but at the same time, how many artifacts do we have? And
I know.
And-
Beggars can't be choosy.
Yeah.
and do we make a decision on this, or does it?
No, get 200 and then he'll counter.
Okay.
so that's 400 a piece or 400 for both?
That's what I said. Is this 400 a piece or 400 for both? And he said both. So it's
Yeah.
$200 per trunk.
It's still pricey though, geez. Come on.
Yeah,
But I can find them on eBay for a lot less than that.
but you can't find them with the digs.
Oh, well,
See,
yeah.
that was the
that's-
significance
yeah,
of it,
that's
that
the
they were
thing.
shipped to the town of Plata. All right, let me ask you this. Now, one of them has verification of Mrs. Diggs's name.
Yeah, I think they both actually do, but it's fragmented, but it's there. And you can make out enough to see the town of La Plata and Diggs on there. I can't be sure which name it is, but I can make out the name Diggs. The first name I can't make out.
Can it be put on display?
The tag. you mean?
fragments?
Fragment. Possibly, yeah. You're talking about like a cardboard tag that has been exposed to a lot of heat and dry for a long time and has almost become powder. And then it's written on an ink, which probably also dissolved some of the cardboard. And it's really fragmented, but if you kind of mentally adjust how those fragments should go, you could probably put about 60% of it together, 50% of it together, enough to make out some information. To put it on display, though, would require really very delicate work. I would probably say it would end up having to be wedged between 2 pieces of glass
Right.
or plexiglass or something so that you couldn't touch it, because it's about to fall apart into nothing.
So the question is, how valuable are they to the museum?
Wow.
I think it's worth.
I think it's worth pursuing.
What do you think?
Tap it lightly. There
There
you
you
go.
go.
I think it's worth. I think it's worth. Even the money, but, I mean,
I'd like to see them stay. We had funds at one time. We talked about it at one time, and I don't know which fiscal year it was, that we would try to use some funds to acquire artifacts for the museum. I know we use some funds for the bottles for the Dr. Owen display, and honestly, those have no connection to the town at all beyond being the same products that we know the town were available in the town, but they don't have any
Yeah.
actual connection to the
I
town.
don't think we have spent, I mean, I've never been able to get a clear picture of how much we have spent of our $5,000 budget, but I don't know of anything we've spent it on.
I can't think of any artifacts that
Mm-mm.
specific beyond those boxes.
Related
that
to
we
the town.
Yeah, that we spent it on. That everything has either been donated or has not been acquired that, we missed. We
Mhm.
tried to get that phone switching station and we missed that one and we didn't get the bid on that. And the only other thing I know that we bought were those bottles.
Mhm.
And Mr. Priscilla's things that went into Caboose.
Which is
Oh,
totaled
yeah.
about $500, and we do have another receipt to discuss, but, would you want me to go back and offer them $100 per trunk? And see if they would accept it, or do we want to accept the $400?
Do we need to do maybe a little research and find out what trunks of that type? Because they're not exactly in pristine condition. They are kind of beat up. One of them has fragments of wood inside that was probably part of an insert that you pull out, but it's not even all there. And the other one is coming apart. So they're not in
Mhm.
antique pristine condition. That would be something you would get a high price for.
Well, the
market.
trunks you can get, but not the background.
Right, you can't get the background of just in terms of him trying to profit from the sale of these trunks, throwing a $400 price at us and saying, hoping that we'll jump because
I'll-
it'll be a,
I'll check on eBay but it'll just be a generic trunk. It won't have the significance of
Yeah.
going to a place.
they'll at least give us a ballpark
All right,
idea.
I'll
of just
check-
what the
I'll check
generic
out
value would
eBay,
be.
see if-
Then we can evaluate what we think the historic value to the town is worth.
Okay.
So do we want to bring this back to the table in July then?
How anxious is he to get his money?
Oh, I have a feeling,
It
Pretty
really
anxious.
Needs to go on, what, June 30th. I mean, let's get it on this year's budget because we haven't spent anything. And we might want to, we might want to be spending stuff.
What do they call it? Just baggage trunks? What's the,
Yeah, I would assume just.
Except for the plaques and stuff.
wooden,
I think
So there were
wooden,
2 plaques, right?
baggage trunks?
Or
Or
just
wooden
one
trunks?
this year.
Wooden trunks,
Yeah,
yeah.
how big would you say
Was
they
there
are?
only one plaque this year? It was only.
That wide.
Yes.
About
Yeah, I mean. we have-
What's that? What's
4
about
feet, maybe
4 feet?
4 feet wide.
Okay, all right. I'll check on eBay and I'll let you know what I find.
Probably.
Well, then how are we gonna,
18,
how am I supposed to
24 inches
handle
deep,
this?
because they've got a curve, one's got a curved top, I think.
Would you like to allocate a certain amount up to this amount and you'll buy it? And if it's more than that, then no?
how about that? We allocate up to $400, but I would make them an offer lower than that and see if they will accept that. And if not, go with the $400.
That sounds like a good
That-
idea.
Great,
I like that idea.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, now we need a motion.
So we don't need another meeting.
All right, well, I'll make the motion that we allocate $400 towards the purchase of the trunks and see if we can negotiate a better price than $400.
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You can vote too. Still get to vote.
You got to vote.
Silence implies consent though, so.
Oh, okay. Webcam, security camera for the train station museum and Caboose.
I know. Leah.
Well, we know that. Patty.
Yeah.
Now, Kelly pointed out to me that they're web cameras that you can just purchase and put up there. How do they work, Kelly? I mean, I looked at what you sent me and it looked like any other camera that somebody would have at their house.
Yes,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, you could put a ring up, but you'd need Wi-Fi, which is, I think, is where we're coming in later with the installation of the Purple Martin webcam.
Well, you want to just get one off of Amazon, just a security a motion, what is a camera and a motion thing or what kind of, how sophisticated? is it?
Yes, Don, what do we have on the other buildings? What kind of security what's on this building?
I don't know. I don't know that we
I
have.
think there's some on the park Tillman Lake too, aren't there? Some cameras there.
I mean, I realize there's Wi-Fi here, but how about Wells Park? Are the cameras down there?
Couldn't tell. Yes, there are on the restrooms. There are cameras on the restrooms.
So where is this going to be?
I don't know how they're
I
connected.
mean, where do the cameras come from? I mean,
Where do they broadcast to? Who's monitoring?
To come from
the town is what
the
I thought.
towns. Yeah,
But who's monitoring?
whoever pays for the, and Donnie has always done that. I mean, he's always taken these.
Okay, then do I go back to Donnie and ask him to get the cameras and install them?
Well, I know I asked for Wi-Fi way back.
I know
when
you
was on
did.
the council, and the cameras kind of wound up with the Wi-Fi.
24/7 monitoring.
Okay,
what-
so we need to check with the town and Donnie and see what that involves. And possibly we can roll it into the Purple Martin webcam thing. So,
Well, how about, yeah, the thing for the bird.
yeah, so can we come back to that later in the,
Well, let's talk about the bird thing, because it's all sort of connected, correct?
it is,
Yeah,
but it's also new information, so.
okay, what you want to come back to it?
it-
Okay.
It's your meeting.
Okay, let's
All being recorded,
let's
right?
go
Yeah.
on to the purchases for the Caboose exhibits. Okay, we have, fortunately, Tony purchased some other items for us for the, train station Caboose. And it was a metal flag holder, which has now been installed.
Okay.
Bob Curran installed that for us, and I have the flags in the car to, iron them. They're just the flags that a flagman would use.
Mhm.
You know, they're not that big flags, but he installed that. We purchased an antique wooden bucket for, they would have used for water, a vintage heavy tin ladle, a fly swatter, which I thought was
That's
important. I
right.
thought that was pretty
That's
good.
like, hey, there will be flies in that.
And a sailor cap
Sailor
to
cap.
go on the mannequin that we have. So the purchase came to a total of $143.82. So that Tony would be reimbursed. So I will need a motion that we request the town to reimburse him for the purchase of these items for the
So
Caboose.
Moved. I move that we do that very thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Patty?
I'm sorry, Patty, you seconded?
I'm in favor.
Okay, I'm in favor. Okay. Then
Okay, so these purchases were not approved ahead of time.
they were not
Correct.
approved ahead of
Okay.
time. No, they were not.
They were, I think, discussed, but I don't know if we got there.
Well,
And they were,
it was $500.
Yeah.
And the last thing that the last reimbursement was like $483.
okay, so that's over the
So
500.
this was over the 500. That's why I had to bring it back to the table.
No, absolutely. But as one, the purchases were coordinated ahead of time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, yes.
Coordinated, not approved.
Coordinated between us as to what we felt was necessary
Okay.
for the exhibits. Now, I think everything is finished in the Caboose. I have one more picture to hang of the wave, and I think we've got everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I think it looks very good, and we appreciate so much, Tony, taking the time to get these items and see that they are there on board for us, and it really looks good. So I think as far as I'm concerned, that part of the interior of the Caboose is finished.
I think there's still some things we could do for future development there, that just to enhance it,
Okay.
but we don't have to do it now.
Okay.
And we also have that broken lens, the red lens on the corners of the outside. There's like a metal. There's
On
a
the
light.
exterior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is on the outside. The lights that have the metal cages around them, they have a red lens inside that, and somebody's broken out some of the lenses. So we probably ought to get those replaced at some point.
Okay, I could talk to Rich about that. Let me finish up with this. Can you just submit that's a cover letter and that's the,
Okay, are there receipts?
oh, receipts. Assume the receipt.
Summaries are great.
Yeah,
Receipts are better.
it's all there.
It's all in here.
Okay.
So. Everything's here. Sorry about that.
Yep, no worries.
How'd you make on the stove? Remember the stove? Did they finish this?
Well, they haven't finished the stovepipe. It's
Okay.
still sitting there. I guess Donnie's working on it. So we approved the purchase of those items. Okay. Now, moving on to the exterior of the building. Stricker and Company, they have given us a price on the lettering. And I have no idea what is good, bad, or indifferent. She said that the lettering, 7-inch by 59 inches across, that stated USN 6322000214, black vinyl lettering installed on the caboose on one side is $125. To do both sides is $200. Rich Gilpin asked the question about their durability. Susan said that supposedly they're guaranteed for like 7 years, but of course this is going to be exposed to a lot of sunlight. So do we want to go with the vinyl lettering, or do we want the lettering painted on there? What do we want?
I can't remember whether she offered to paint or stencil letters rather than decal them. You can be sure that any kind of
No, she
decal
did
is gonna
not.
split off or fall off at some point.
Okay, this is
depends
black
on-
vinyl lettering is what she,
And she guaranteed it for 10 years?
no, she didn't
No
personally guarantee it. She says the company says that it lasts for 7 years. But no, she didn't guarantee it.
That caboose bakes in that sun,
Mhm.
and that's going to be weathered and heated all the time.
So you want it hand lettered?
I would think hand
Hand
painted
painted?
or painted or stenciled would be more durable in the long run, or maybe easier to deal with when it starts to fade. I don't know how hard it is to remove those vinyl letters if they start to split and come apart and start to fail. I guess they have to be removed and replaced.
I would think a plaque would be more durable, wouldn't it?
Well, they want the lettering back on
Trying to
the caboose.
trying to
This has been
restore
going on
what was
for-
on the caboose before it was painted red and what it looked like
Okay.
when it was in the Navy. And the Navy paints the serial number right on the side of the caboose in black block letters. We have photos of it, very faded photos with a lot of rust stains running. You can make out what it is. So you can tell what
Where
it
do you
is.
go to have it painted on
I
there?
would think Susan would still be able to handle that.
All
Just
right.
she may not want to do it that way. I mean, she might have reasons why that's not a good idea. But maybe we should at least ask her for it and see if that's a viable
is-
option.
What is she doing on the next item?
Next item, if you look at the south end of the building on the outside, the sign that says La Plata
Yeah.
is coming apart. So I asked her to give us a price on that. And she gave us prices, but of course, I have absolutely no idea what, Stuart, if you would like to look at this.
I remember it was like
Like, is
200.
that-
Starts with approximately 15 by 6 inches.
Is that for vinyl lettering too? That's what I was asking.
She offered actually something called ACM, which is an aluminum composite material. And it has a aluminum face with a polyethylene core. It's about 3 millimeters thick. And then on top of that, she's going to put pressure sensitive vinyl and letters with white vinyl computer cut letters. So sounds like it's going to be stamped out.
Saw on something, she is gonna do it the way the original sign was, which has La Plata with the space, but with the small P.
I think she's going to just replicate what's there. Yeah.
Replicate what's
What's
there,
Yeah.
because of that, and
See, there are two different ones. There's one on the interior and there's one on the exterior. I think the exterior one is the one that's correct.
Well, as far as correct goes, there's probably half a dozen photos of that station with different La Plata signs on the outside, so it's kind of tough to know. But I like the one we have.
Yeah, the one that's in Lido's and the one that's on the outside of Starbucks has got that sign the way it is with the La Plata
Caboose.
letters. Small.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we can find the photos that those were based on and see what the lettering, what style it is. If not, they're probably hanging on the wall inside the museum now, and we've got about 4 pictures of train station in there now, so.
Yeah,
And again, I don't know that this is for us to take care of, if it's something that the town takes care of. I don't know. I just noticed it was in bad shape and needs,
well,
Yeah, it's almost under kind of a building maintenance kind of thing, but it depends on how the town views that building, as whether that signage is important to it's important to the museum. It's presenting the building as it was roughly at a certain period in history. But then we also have other signs we could think about adding. For example, the Post Creek Railroad logo that was once on the side of the building. There used to be a telegraph advertisement because it was the first telegraph for the county that was located in that building. And they had a sign up advertising you'd send your telegraphs there. I would like to see all that put back at some point, but then I think that kind of stuff would probably come from the commission rather than the town, because it's more related to the museum than to maintaining the building.
I like the signs the way I remember them from I guess I got here in the 70s. But before it was moved, and that sign was on the others, you know. There was a La Plata sign on the Route 6. So is that the sign? The building was turned.
Mhm.
So,
I think though that what they did is they left
What
that
is-
sign facing that side, even though they turned the building. I think they
Right.
still put that sign on the Route 6 facing side.
yeah,
And if I recall, I'm not sure I do, but if I recall, they redid the signs around the Centennial. And I think they were trying to do them in accordance with the older photos they had of the
Right.
station at the time. So I think they're already historically accurate up to a point. I just don't know which era. But they're not just something somebody just stuck on there. There was a reason they used that design.
yeah.
Just like the La Plata road sign on 5 is incorrect. There's no space there. So nobody cares about historical actors.
So Plata, but where is that?
On 48, like a modern sign for La Plata Road, there's no space.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy every time I will drive past it. So
Okay.
well, then this needs more discussion before any of the above is done. I could ask Susan about the lettering, somebody painting the lettering on there. And come back with a price on that.
Oh, and I would tend to defer to her expertise, but at least think we ought to ask.
Okay.
She'll have a better idea of what will last the longest and what is the most proper way of doing it. But I imagine the Navy just sent some guy out there with a stencil and he just stuck it on the side of the caboose.
Yes.
The
Mhm.
the Plata signs, the museum sign that's the white entrance signs and everything. That's just a stencil on there it's the same stencil that's on
I'm not even sure that's a
Bobby
stencil.
Paul told me that one time they was stencils, that there was, that's just the stencil on there that they put on there. So
Okay.
and those signs are vinyl, right? I can't remember who did those signs, but I remember talking about it back when I was on the council way back when.
That was before I was with the town, and I would not use those stencils again because I vehemently disagree with Comic Sans font. The font that they use on those signs. It's terrible, and it doesn't fit the nature of the town. It doesn't fit the historical sites. It doesn't look.
I have no idea. I bet.
No, that's a me thing.
I can't remember. I think beautification commission was involved in it. But those signs they look to me like they're painted or stenciled and then, but then the seal.
Maybe I should go back to Donnie. At one time after the caboose was painted, Donnie was all ready to get the lettering put on it. And then we couldn't decide if we wanted the lettering or if we wanted the town seal. Maybe I should go back to Donnie about it. Or I always felt like I'm always calling
Ask
for
him what his
Donnie.
plan was and, who he was going to contact. And he might have been ready to contact Susan anyway.
Mhm.
The last hand-painted sign person I can remember was Dwayne Braithwaite.
Ah.
He briefly opened that place up on the corner there and
Mhm.
And, you can order a custom stencil so that if it needed to be refreshed later, you would have the same one again. I mean, that's possible. And then it's just the stencil and paint.
well, it sounds like in Susan's email here that she said something about laser cut letters. I wonder if she has the equipment there in her facility to laser cut a stencil.
Yeah, if she can cut stickers, she can cut a stencil. I mean, that's
Would
another option.
you and I want to get together with Susan at this
Yeah,
museum
we can
and
do
talk
that.
about this and come up with a plan?
I think so. I mean, we all want it done.
Yeah.
And we've been kind of dragging along trying to get it done. And
Now, when we were doing the exhibit on the inside, like what you did for uh, the Dr. Owen exhibit and all that, I mean, you and Susan worked well together, I thought.
yeah,
I'm getting that accomplished. So maybe that's the best thing is you give me a date, time, place, and I'll get Susan there.
yeah, either that or we go to her place. I probably have a better understanding of how she operates if I can see the equipment she's using because I worked there in 1978. Which is different, I think now.
I doubt that it's any different. I doubt it, but I will suggest that to her and she'll say, oh, no.
No, she won't. Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. We'll try it.
I'll defer.
I'll tell her you were there in the 70s. You know what it looks like.
Path of least resistance.
Okay.
Clean that place more than once.
All right. Well, I'll go back and talk to Susan on that. Okay. So we will table all that for the moment. Okay. One other thing that we need to vote on is I did get some emails from Rich Gilpin regarding the lighting inside the caboose that has not been satisfactory. And they're going to get some new spotlights for in there. He's meeting with the electrician again, and he wants to try to get this right. He had 2 or 3 things he was working on, and one of them is this. But he said the spotlighting for the caboose would cost about $160. So we will need to discuss this and vote on it for him to go forward. Any thoughts?
We all want better spotlights.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't leave the ones we have, so changing them is gonna happen at some point. Don't know what the cost is. I guess that's Rich has
He
already
said it
found
would
that
be
out.
$160.
But I mean, if that's a
Spotlights.
good cost or not, I assume Rich has done his
Yeah.
diligence and it's a good one. So do we have any idea of where our budget is for things like this? Do we have a budget for?
No
expenditure?
one.
Is that the 5,000?
Previously, when I would ask the town treasurer about that, I never did get a straight answer. So I have no idea now what we have in our budget.
Do we
But we
have
certainly-
time to talk this through? Because we can figure this out right now.
Yes, I have time.
So the Christchurch plaque, do you recall how much that was?
$425.
425. Mr. Pazula's first set of purchases.
483.
Yeah, something like that.
Bob Kern did some audio. Something? No?
No,
Well,
that wasn't
that
Bob
was
Kern.
Caboose.
That was
Rich, I
Rich
think.
Gilpin.
Rich Gilpin.
And that wasn't in this year's budget.
Bob
That-
did the plexiglass cover around
Plexiglass.
the
Yeah.
train table.
And that was this fiscal year?
He installed it just recently. I don't know when the purchase was actually made, but I
Purchase
think it
made.
was. this
I
fiscal
just don't
year.
know.
He had the items purchased sometime around Christmas, if I recall.
Okay, so that would definitely be this year. And that was Kern. And
No, if it was Christmas, it would have been 2022. Or you're talking about
Well,
this year's
but
fiscal year.
It's a fiscal year.
And I have no idea. He
Okay.
came in and he worked with
It's sat,
Craig and it got ordered.
the materials sat, they were in that box sitting behind this train table and it sat back there.
It seemed like
quite
it
some
sat
time.
there for months.
Yeah, it sat there a long time before we could get back to actually doing the work. So I know they were there at least around Christmas, but they were probably there earlier than that.
Mhm.
But I think it's safe to put them in this fiscal year just for our
Yeah.
calculation. If we know what if we know what the number is, we don't know what the number is.
$200? No,
I would
okay.
have thought it'd been more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Plexiglass, the
agreed.
materials. and-
Yeah, you can't get decent plexiglass for cheap anymore.
I would say that that project was at least $500 between the lumber and the plexiglass.
I don't
Okay,
have any
so
idea at all.
Let's guess 500.
Yeah,
Let's get 500.
Okay. And then the second purchases for the caboose were 143.82 because we just
Yeah.
did that.
Mhm.
And that's at 34.48. So you spent $1,500.
And I know we've turned in some other small things too. So we're a long way from $5,000, which is our budget.
Right.
So
And I
it's
assume we're gonna be
little bit less.
paying Susan for the signs out of the budget.
But by the time we get that all done, it'll be next year's budget, right? I mean, the end of June is the end of the fiscal
Right.
year.
I'm gonna say, and you've allocated 400 for the trunks.
Yeah. Nobody asked us last year about a budget or how much we needed allocated to the Historic Preservation Commission.
I think we asked, if I recall, we asked them just to, it doesn't roll over, it goes back to the general
Right.
fund that we don't use, right, Kelly?
That's correct.
So
Each year we have to
I
ask
think
for
we
it.
asked them that they give us the same thing this year.
Yeah.
And then we spent, I know we bought that, maybe the hospital plaque.
Oh, that was a couple
There-
years ago.
No, at the end of June, so that we got it in that budget, whatever.
Oh, you mean you're talking about the Christchurch plaque?
Ones that the end of
Okay.
last June.
Now we
But
have,
anyway, something, somehow or another, this should all be,
in the minutes.
well, not in the minutes, but in the, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm looking for the financial reports.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Allocation of funds for bronze plaque for old jail building, which I'm just starting to work on that. So we've already approved that and that had gone up to 525.
So you're planning on spending that?
Probably not this fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
I haven't got it all together. I have the letter prepared to go to county government. But of course, that's going to have to be approved by the town because we want to place this plaque on a government building. So it needs to go out on letterhead. And so I want to attach a picture of the one that we did at the theater to this as a sample for the county government to see what we're going to do. So I want to talk to Kelly about that. So anyway, that money's probably not going to be spent this fiscal year because I imagine that it's going to take a long time to walk this through to the county government. I got to walk it through the town, then they got to walk it through county government. It probably goes all the way up to the commissioners as to whether they want a plaque on the side of the old jail or not. It could be determined by the county administrator, but we're just not sure.
We don't know.
And I think that is the,
This is,
I think
Yeah,
that is
technically.
the last, what would you say? We don't have a county administrator?
oh, he's on leave.
Oh,
So
Okay.
this report is incorrect because it shows that you spent 356.60, which doesn't match anything.
where are you getting that from?
This is the expenditures report from the treasurer. And it's current as of supposedly February 28th. But that number doesn't match anything we've talked about. Unless maybe that's the plexiglass.
That's the treasurer's report from July 1st of last year.
July 1st. Well, the point is, we are well within our
Yeah.
budget.
Definitely.
So
yes.
we don't need to worry about it.
If the process
Where we
is
end-
that the town does offer us a like a $5,000 budget each year, and then if we don't
Mm-hmm.
use that, it rolls back into the town funds, and then it gets renewed again the following year.
Right.
Then we could, I guess, go ahead and allocate funds, and even if we don't use them, it's all going to roll back in anyway, and just carry through to the next year or so.
Well, like this plaque for the old jail.
Yeah,
That was,
I mean, we can
we've already
try
allocated, but
allocating in advance and hope that we get to the point where we can spend the money, and if we don't, it rolls back, or we can
Yeah.
just wait to try to allocate each item as it comes
Mhm,
up. So
mhm.
that's just for planning purposes, I guess.
Mhm. Okay. I think, okay, Stricker and Company, we got that covered. You're not going to meet and talk about that. Okay, matters of information. We have a long-term loan of a 1926 school bell by Mike Burch. And this school bell has been in his family for basically 100 years. His grandmother, Merle Hardesty, was a student in the school at the time of the 1926 tornado. Evidently that evening or subsequently, her parents went back over to the school. They found this bell. They took it home. It has quietly stayed within that family all these years. It has come down to Mike Burch, and Mike has put it on a long-term loan to us for the museum, or for wherever we have a display of the 1926 tornado. It's portable, so it
Yeah.
could come here if there was a display.
It's a handbell.
It's a handbell. It's a desk handbell. So I have prepared a letter that needs to get on the town stationery for Mike, just to explain the situation, that it is on a long-term loan. And if he does not ask for it back, then at the time of his demise, it is ours. So,
He was looking for a home for it, and he was kind of back and forth on what he wanted to try to do with the bell. I met him at the train station museum, and he saw the exhibit, and he says, "This is the home for the bell." And he agreed that it was hard for him to, because it kind of been in the family for a while, and he had an emotional attachment to it, so it wasn't easy for him to let it go. But he was pleased to have it there, and he said that if in some future date he decides, oh no, I really want the bell back, then we have to return the bell to him. But if that doesn't happen and he's gone, then the bell is considered a gift to the town, to the museum.
Yeah, I think we want to safeguard it in some kind of a plexiglass or something.
well, I was over there earlier with Bob Curran, and there's enough plexiglass left
Oh, good.
from
Good.
the exhibit that he thinks he can make a nice case for it, just like what we have for the conductor's hat
Yeah.
that was given to us.
So
So he can do that.
One curious thing, did your mother ever mention the school ever having a bigger bell in the tower?
I never, no.
She never mentioned it.
I did find, I went back because now, of course, more sensitized to the bell. So I went back and I looked at Ed Turner's oral history from the College of Southern Maryland. It's a very detailed history of what happened that day to him in the tornado, among other things. And he mentioned specifically that when the children were at play right before they were brought back into the building, and this was all happened within maybe a half hour before the tornado hit, that Miss Hughes came out and rang her bell to bring the students in from recess. So that implies that there may have been two, and that each teacher had their own handbell.
Okay.
And it also implies that that might be why Muriel's family didn't let anybody know they had it, because they knew it belonged to Miss Hughes and it was her bell.
Okay.
But that's just implied.
So
I
we
don't
had a
know.
tower, but no bigger bell. I mean, that's normally what they would have rung. I mean,
Yeah, they would have
Yeah.
rung their handbell.
no, I mean,
Well,
if there was a bell in the tower, they would have rung that because everybody could hear
They
that.
built the school with a bell tower.
Okay.
And there's a lot of new stuff I found out about the school. I tried to do a diagram of the interior of the school based on the photos. And when I was done with that diagram, I noticed that one of the rooms, the bell tower centered over one of the rooms as opposed to both of the rooms. They're joining in an L shape. And I wondered why that was. And I thought, you know what? That was probably a one-room school. And they
Mhm.
just stuck another
Mhm.
addition on the
Addition.
outside. Well, it turns out that Pat Wood says that her mother, who was Ethel Martin,
Ethel Martin.
she confirmed that Ethel said it had always been a one-room school and it had been added on to. So that was something I don't think anybody had recorded anywhere.
Mhm.
So that bell tower probably is older than the 1926 school. And it probably goes back into whatever the second school was that was built, probably in the late 1800s, 1880.
Wow.
So we still don't know what happened to the bell on the bell tower, or if there was one.
Very.
Well, we can't blame the Amish. When they tore down Sacred Heart Church, the Amish took the bell out of the bell tower. So it's over there somewhere in St. Mary's County. We just don't quite know.
We'll make a raid of St. Mary's. Look
But
for
the Mennonites were not here at the time of the 1926 tornado, so we can't say they've got the bell. Okay,
So you need a letter on town letterhead?
is that letter
Yeah, you've got-
satisfactory?
I think it sounds pretty good.
But we can alter it and I can have that done at another time. You think it's okay?
I think it looks pretty good. I don't see anything that jumps
Anybody-
out at me and says, we got to change that.
They're good?
That's all right.
And who's this? Oh, it's from you.
Yeah, it's for me, but
Okay.
it's got to get on town letterhead, correct?
Okay, I'll check on that protocol. Okay,
And you can review it, you can change it, you can do anything you want with it.
okay.
Yeah, I guess the thing we want to do is make it clear it's a long-term loan of the bell and it becomes a permanent loan if he does not exercise his option to take the bell. back.
What is the last sentence I have there?
Town will play in the historical.
Now, that's a thank you, okay. It is the understanding of the commission that this could be a permanent donation if you do not seek possession of it again.
So do you want it could
Yeah, I think
or will?
will be. I like that better.
Because could give some room to get out of it.
Okay,
Okay.
I mean, he intends it to be given to
Mhm.
the museum if he doesn't come and say, I want it back.
Yeah, I just, yeah, and or maybe one of his successors would come and go, well, they only said it could be.
If it
not that
becomes a
will be."
successor, then it's ours.
Give him a trunk and.
You can have a little bit.
We'll give one of
Yeah.
our spare trunks to have.
that is sent to you or somebody
No,
will
that's
retype that.
That's
You can
fine,
have a
I'll
little
just
thing
retype
on
it,
the,
that's
on the bell itself, donated by or.
I'll swap you a
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're okay.
Okay.
Now, with the installation of the Purple Martin webcam, which I believe was happening today.
Oh, cool.
I'm not,
Somebody was there running some wire and digging some holes.
oh, were they? Okay, excellent. So
Looks like they were digging a trench to me. I
Oh.
couldn't understand a word they were saying.
this was funded under a tourism grant from Maryland Historic MHT, whatever that stands for, trust. And so Danielle had actually written this into the project and now I'm just fulfilling what she had planned already. So the group that's doing it, the organization's called Terrain 360. He's set up webcams for all kinds of bird watchers all over the place, national parks, state parks. They set one up at Mallows Bay and they set one up at Smallwood, I want to say.
The eagle on the.
Yes, I don't know if he did that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know for sure he did the Mallows Bay one and Smallwood. So he's very in tune with, protecting the historic value of the building and he doesn't want to, damage the integrity of that. He's actually doing all the hard work. All I do is let him in sometimes. And this time, apparently, I didn't even have to let him in. So what they're installing is internet and it will feed the webcam specifically. And apparently the webcam is pretty data heavy. So it does do a lot of use on it. But as an advantage, as a bonus, it does also have Wi-Fi. The router has Wi-Fi capability. So that's an option. Just, and they weren't going to turn it on. They're like, well, you don't need Wi-Fi. When I went, well, but what if? And it's not extra. So there will be Wi-Fi available at the train station museum.
We would probably have to secure that though.
So, I mean, there is, so it's gonna be available at the train station, so why can't the cameras and my tech mind is crazy, but why can't the cameras that we're asking for at the train station and the other one?
It is entirely possible they can be tied
they
into
can,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
Be tied into.
And-
That makes good.
And if the router's in there,
Yeah.
possibly it can be hardwired into it instead of being on Wi-Fi, which would be even better.
Yeah,
You can get more data flow through a hardwire
Yeah.
connection.
So it would
So-
just mean running a wire from wherever the security webcam
That's
is
a good, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
to the router.
What about their, whatever internet plan they're using I mean, usually these connections are based on tiers of usage and data flow. So if you're going to add another data stream to what they're planning for the birds, that might put a burden on whatever streaming option they're using to get this up on the web. So we have to look at that.
Definitely. And I don't know that yet. He's supposed to, when the installation is done, I'm supposed to get technical specifications and logins and all that. So we know what all we can tap into.
So if we have Wi-Fi enabled at this train station, I guess we'll have to secure that as well and come up with some kind of rules on how that's going to be used. But
Well,
otherwise-
yes, and it would definitely be subject to all the same rules as like our town Wi-Fi is. So
but we have it. It's already there at Wolf Park, right? There's already Wi-Fi and everything. And cameras at Wells Park, right?
I know there's cameras. I don't know how they're wired.
Yeah. Okay, okay. All right.
So is there a website that needs to be maintained to need access to the images of the birds?
The feed will actually go through Terrain 360's website and we can embed the code onto our webpage.
Okay,
So
so
they
they'll be
could watch it.
basically taking care of
Yep.
making sure that the feed is viable and then we'll just be copying from that.
Yes.
Perfect.
So is it like with county government, you can go on, I can't know how. I
Yeah,
do
the
it,
Eagle Cam.
And see the Eagle Cam. So
Mhm.
it'd be
It's
just
exactly like that.
All right, I got that.
That's what I was asking her, if the same guy or company.
it
did
might have-
that,
it
that
might have been, I can't-
Mallows Bay, and-
Mhm.
yeah, oh, I bet it. So,
Let me know when it's installed.
Okay.
So we're talking about putting cameras on the station for security purposes, so that would be fed, I would assume. I mean, is there are security cams mounted in other locations for the town, right? I mean, I
Not as
see-
many as you'd think. I'm sorry, now I'm violating security, but
Well, no,
um,
I understand that dummy cameras are used, they use them in the schools all the time, so.
yeah. I
But-
remember asking if there were any on this building because of things that had happened in the parking lot, and they weren't, but that was
Hmm.
6 years ago, probably.
to my knowledge, there
I
aren't
don't
cameras
think there are
outside.
any security cameras outside of this
Okay.
building and on those bathrooms back there.
All right, well, you'll look into that.
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Okay, sandwich boards. Any update?
I discussed the signs with the updates to the signs with Patty, and I just need to print them out and get them to the train station museum for the first opening on the 29th.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. At long last, the Christchurch bronze plaque has been installed, and I think it looks very nice.
I walked by it 4 times and didn't look at it.
Well, I
I'm
just
distracted
look at
every
it.
single time. by
Well,
something
maybe
else.
there was traffic coming and going. The object is when
Always
you're walking
is.
down the street, you're supposed to be able
Well,
to see it, not
for
when you're
Easter-
driving your
Easter
car.
service, and it was just, I wandered all around, but I didn't go
Yeah.
see the. see the
Well, anyway, I
flags.
think it came out very nice, and I must commend the Public Works for making it finally happen and getting it in the ground properly. And if you would just pay, I don't know the proper person at Public Works to contact about that. I mean, Donnie but the whole crew of men, we all met down there and yada, yada, yada.
So
So
we ought to thank them, send them a
did-
thank you letter,
uh,
make them,
I wouldn't even know who to send it to. The thank you letter.
Okay.
we'll
I'll
figure
pass
it out.
You'll pass it? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bronze plaque for the old jail. As I say, I'm working on it. I've got the initial letter ready to get over here to town hall. Firehouse Museum update. Anything?
Yes, the preparation has started. It started on the 8th. They not sandblasted the water, power washed the outside. I believe they're at the firehouse today doing some patching and possibly some scraping. But they're finding things, as you imagine, with an older building, and they're like, well, maybe we don't want to do that to this particular patch.
Yeah.
But it's underway.
Yeah, It's going to be very trying, I'm sure, before it's ever
I
finished.
have no doubts. There were problems with the plumbing. The outside spigot does not appear to be connected to the inside water lines, and then there were leaks, and so
I wonder if the outdoor spigot's working. We haven't had to go down there to water yet.
it is leaking a lot into the wall.
Oh, into the interior. wall.
Yes,
That's not good.
And then the sprinkler system.
I wouldn't even think about that.
The outside wall and knock the
For
wall.
this year.
You mean like outside? Wait.
We had a sprinkler system.
I don't know. I've never seen it work.
Donnie would turn it off and on every year. I guess when they come and turn the town one on, they come and turn that one on.
Well, they just did that the other day, so you might want to see if it's working.
Okay. All right.
That's another question.
Now, purchase of new signage for the original site of the 26 tornado. Okay, I've done a little research as to why that sign is on Willow Lane. And I can't get much feedback on it. I've talked to Joe Norris, who was head of that 1988 centennial celebration. And he said, I mean, he really wasn't sure why it was there. Michelle Miner really wasn't sure why it was over there. But anyway, we're going to try to begin to work on getting one at the actual site, which is across from the heliopad. Now, I'm going to have to start working with the town to determine, is there space where the house currently sits? Where does the homeowner's property stop? Where is the town property? I mean, I assume that the town must own some little strip there. I don't know.
I don't know the exact spot. At some point, it turns over to county property.
Well, it's a town street.
On Willow Lane. Yeah.
Oh, no,
so-
I'm not one, I mean, I'm
Oh,
over across
she's
from the
going like
heliopad,
I don't know where that is.
where the helicopter comes in at the hospital.
Jeff Levering's house.
Was, that's where the school sat. All right. Do you know where the heliport is? The hospital, in the back of the
Oh,
hospital.
okay. Yes, yes, I do.
Well, if you look directly across from that, the very last brick house there is approximately where the school sat. And the kids were thrown down into what was referred to as a gully by my mother, but now it's more of a what?
Well, it's referred to as a gully, a shallow ravine, or a ditch, depending upon which article you want to read and who you talk to.
So
And-
across from the helipad. And we're looking at Somerset?
Wait,
Wacomico?
I think it's along Wacomico.
It's in
There's,
Wacomico.
there's,
It's
there's a
Wacomico.
driveway that comes out from the hospital parking lot, I think, that almost directly faces the house.
Okay.
And it would be to the west side of where Garrett Avenue comes out onto Somerset or Wacomico.
So we're looking at like here?
Where's the hospital?
Right here.
Oh, it's that.
Here's the
It's more
helipad.
that way. It's more towards the,
That house actually sits lower.
Yeah, it's right in here.
Landscape.
There's a row of,
I
the
think,
last,
I thought we
the
were
last
going
house on
further up
Wacomico,
the road,
which
So
would
that
be
the
right
entrance to the
about
emergency
in
room
here.
is there. I thought we were talking about
Okay.
a house further. This is Somerset.
So the goal is to try to get this up before the 100th anniversary
Right.
of the 1926 tornado.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to pursue. I guess I'm going to start with Janine Harrington to help me look at this situation.
Okay. Well, if it's streets, it's probably going to be Bobby Stahl. And if it's going to be permanently installed, then they need an easement.
Mhm.
So
It's
there you
gonna
go.
look like
So,
that. It's gonna look like the other
yeah,
side.
it's
of
going to
the
look like the
other-
other sign, but it's not going to say
that's
400
not-
feet from here.
But the other sign is a state program.
Yeah,
isn't
that's-
it?
Yeah, okay, that sign was done, if you, I've got to go take a picture of it. It says on the bottom, something about the La Plata Centennial Committee, and then there's something else under it. It could say State Road Department. I'm not sure what it says, but I know it. I don't know enough to have an intelligent
Well,
conversation. at this
I've got a
moment.
picture of it.
But I will have more information at the July meeting. I just want you all to know it's up here. We're working on it.
Actually, now I'm trying to remember. I think maybe that sign is located on Willow Lane specifically because it was easier to put it there than it was to put it.
Mhm.
And it was, I think they also thought it would be more visible there
Going into the school.
going into the school. Yeah.
But we really need some kind of marker. I don't care if it's on a big stone. I don't care. It would be nice if we could get a state marker like that.
Or something that even you're preparing to mark at some point, you want to start the project of getting the historic homes recognized. With
Yes.
some kind of acknowledgement or
Yeah,
a plaque.
as soon as I'm not in this seat.
I would think that it would be, we could do something like that as well to that house.
Okay, she has just pulled this up, the plate.
Even if we don't mark it
So
on the
this is the
street, we could
state
mark the
historic.
house
Mark the house.
as being on the site of the old school
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
good.
as an historic location without necessarily making it a visible from the street. Since we have the other sign, it's still visible from the street. Granted, it's, 400 yards away, but still.
Okay, this is what, can you turn that around for them to see, Kelly? This is what I had in mind.
Oh,
And that says the Plato Centennial Commission and the Maryland Historical Society.
I think the Maryland state program creates these markers,
Mhm.
but somebody has to pay for them. And that would be the Plato Centennial Commission.
It couldn't
Whoever.
cost more than 5,000.
As long as you didn't need anything else for the train station.
it wasn't a budget.
If you, if you say that, it will cost 5,000.
But I had pulled out some old, the proper person to get to. Can you send me that?
Sure.
Make me look, I
Nice.
can't
Talking
review it.
about putting a plaque on the house.
Oh,
That's not,
it's gotta be
that
small.
has nothing to
Oh.
do with.
No, Patty, that's not where we're going at this point. Where we're going at this point is what we just showed you.
Yeah.
If push came to shove and there was nothing else we could do with it,
Okay.
then we
I'm
could
just
do
giving
something
an
like that.
alternative idea of something we could do if we
Yeah.
can't get what we want. Because
Right.
if we run into difficulties finding where we can actually drive the pole in for the sign, then the fallback would be to see if we can mark the house instead.
There's a program that the Garden Club does with the Blue Star Memorial Highway markers. And sometimes we do a byway marker that's not on 301. And a byway marker usually goes on a large stone.
Yeah, that was
So if push came to shove, and we had to purchase a large
stone or
stone,
find a tree.
yeah. Or even down at the Star Memorial Garden, we have a large piece of granite that we have one of our brass plaques on.
Well, the physician stone's nice. That's a nice, it's a nice stone, a nice
But
plaque.
I want to start with this. I like
Yes,
to start
yeah,
big, and
yeah.
if we have to work our way down, we will.
Closest to the ground.
Well, it's good you're taking your time with it because apparently they're transitioning over and they're not taking applications at the
Oh.
moment.
Oh, they're not.
No, February 2023. Currently being transitioned to administration by the Maryland Department of Transportation. During this period, applications for new markers are not being accepted.
Well, we'll just have to find out when they're going to be accepted.
Check back here soon.
Oh.
We've got,
There's a date.
Yeah.
we've
Soon.
got 3 years to get this accomplished.
That's right. Lots of wiggle room.
Yeah. Okay, now, I think I had one other thing. Again, Tony, we just thank you so very much for all your efforts with Caboose. So we're most appreciative. When there is space on the commission, Tony has indicated he would like to become a member of the commission. Sometime, maybe. I don't know exactly how things work. I'm always willing to. My interest is, of course, signage, historic markers. So that could become a subcommittee at some point. I have no idea how all that shakes out.
But there's all kinds of room for volunteers, just not
Mhm.
necessarily with a title.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and that's why we're grateful for you coming to the meetings. And I know Rich has a friend, Ron Rosenthal, who has expressed interest, in coming to the meetings too. So he probably would have come today if Rich could have been with us. So to me, the more volunteers we get, that can come to our meetings, would be great. So does anybody else have anything else they would like to bring up?
I have a couple things too. But
Can I just add, I'm sorry, I can wait until the end, but did the spotlights get approved or was that going back for
$160
discussion.
for spotlights and installation of the spotlights and the spotlights.
I'll
themselves.
move that we approve them.
Second it and.
All in favor?
Aye.
3 votes.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was it. That was all I had.
You know, you can make motions when you were talking, you can just say, I'm making this motion for it, yeah,
I didn't know as chairperson that it
does.
was proper to do.
absolutely, the mayor does it all the time. Right, Kelly?
You can make those motions. I mean, it is nice as a courtesy to give others that opportunity, but you can.
Now, because I've turned my mic off. Oh, but let's go back to what Stuart wants to talk about. And then let's go.
Just a couple little items. The picture of the caboose that I was given a while back to restore and the letter that went with it. In the process of trying to determine whether we got the right serial number for the caboose to be painted, I've discovered that the photo we have of the caboose is the wrong caboose.
Yeah, that's not our caboose.
And
Mm-mm. It's yellow, right? The
Well,
yellow one?
yeah, it's
And
the
the
yellow one,
windows
but
aren't
the
right.
windows are wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
the window, we have three windows on instead of two. And so, do we still want to restore that and put that up on the wall and use that as a museum exhibit? Or do we just want to focus on the memo that came with the caboose and have that as the exhibit?
That's signed by somebody over there at the.
Yeah, the memo is accurate. That's the one that came with the gifting of the caboose to the town by the Navy. I think that ought to stay. We were going to put the two together, but it then implies that the picture of the caboose is the one that
No,
we have, and it's not really. the
I
same.
personally would drop the picture of the caboose and go with the letter.
Yeah, we could,
I think the letter is what's important.
or utilize one of the pictures that were taken when the caboose was being installed. And
Mhm.
even though the caboose was in really bad shape at that time, it does show it being put into place, and that
Yeah.
might be something we
Yeah,
could do.
that's what I was just gonna say, don't we have one from when they moved it?
We have a bunch of them.
Okay,
We have a
we'll
bunch of
go with
those.
that.
The other thing I wanted to mention was, it's been kind of my little pet project to try to salvage that old phone booth that was in the house that was going to be destroyed
Yes.
for the library. Donnie let me into it a few days ago, and I
Oh.
got to see it. And boy, that basement's is just a really bad. It's a mess. The stuff is just like ankle deep or knee deep in there. It's just horrible. So I couldn't get eyes on the bottom of it. But it's a wooden phone booth. It has a tin sheathing on the inside of it that's where most of the decay is. The tin has rusted out and it's just flaking off. But the wood looks like it's in fairly good shape. I can't put a date. It could be anywhere from, I would say 1940 to 1960. It's kind of tough to know, but as far as being salvageable and restorable as a potential future exhibit for one of the museums, I think it is. I've told Donnie if he can get it out, I will pick it up and I will store it in my shed until we decide what to do with it, because I can throw it away as much as the next guy can.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, I built the shed. Come on.
It's a he shade, not a she shade.
It's already full. It's already
Not
full. I
a
haven't
he shade,
finished it yet. It's already
a he
full.
shade. What
Um,
known as a man cave.
The only place, though, that I can come up with that it might possibly end up as any sort of an exhibit would be in the firehouse, this building of some kind, and probably in the little, I guess, rescue squad addition to the firehouse
Mhm.
exhibit or museum. Other than that, I don't really have a reason to salvage that phone booth. It did come from the Elam brothers. It was in the warehouse. People do remember seeing it there, and so it is.
That particular one was there.
Yeah, so it is a connection that we will lose if we let it go. It's one of those things that you,
I can't think of her.
Can't get
Ruth
back.
Kendig is still alive
Mhm.
out in Timbuktu somewhere. I mean, we can contact her if we want the history of it.
No, you're not gonna get, well, were you involved with Bobby when he was
Yeah,
talking to her?
Yeah, but I mean, she might know when she got it, how she got it, when she
True.
got it,
true.
any little bit of history helps.
Well, I mean, if my understanding is that she's gotten everything out of the house that she wants to get,
Yeah.
or that she can get.
Mhm.
And so everything that's in there is going to go.
Well, once we have it in our possession, Then we can call her and see if there's any more details she can give us as to, she might know something about a date on it. She might know something.
I would imagine it
Just
was
thought.
probably taken down before the,
To ship all that stuff
Crap,
that you
yeah.
wanted in that house
Hmm.
out
Yeah.
there.
there's so much stuff in the basement. that's
Yeah.
still there. I mean,
No.
it's just a mishmash. I picked up a saddle and moved it out of the way, a
But she
saddle.
You haven't
She
heard.
named-
yeah.
She had, they took pictures of everything inside and she
Yeah.
named what she wanted and then.
Is there,
sent
is
it
there,
out there. He said
yeah,
it was
yeah.
$10,000 to ship it out there.
is there any other business that we need to discuss?
The only other thing I would like to mention is that at some future date, I think we should consider a storage shed for the museum. Some kind of small storage facility that we can lock our stuff up in, other than trying to find places.
Where are the storage facilities for the town?
They're scattered all.
Attic. There's one in the.
Will's Park.
So the attic, yeah, there's one in the basement of Will's
I get
Park
the
that
attic.
has the
Just
snowflake
follow it,
lights
just-
in it.
yeah, it's-
That's
we
what I'm
don't-
thinking.
We don't
Yeah,
have,
Not room for
Just put a lock
phone
on it.
booth.
no,
Doesn't come for excess stuff stored.
Something on Kent Avenue?
Yeah.
there, yes, there is some stuff stuffed in there. Trash cans, as I recall, that are getting ready to be distributed. I mean, at some point.
Yeah, but there was.
Okay, if we make a note that we might be interested in a storage location of some kind.
Okay.
Storage shed or something.
I would think something I would like to have that you can get to right there, because, I mean, like when we had that temporary sawhorse table set up for the
Oh,
the
geez.
Christmas train that we were running, and I had that sheet of warped wood. That belongs to the museum, so, I mean, so when I'm done, I've got to do something with that sheet of wood. It's still usable, so I went ahead and slapped it on the wall in the bathroom behind the storage cabinet that's there, but it's things like that. We don't really have anywhere to put that kind of stuff.
And-
Okay, but I would, if there's no other business, I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Well, I guess do we have to move to adjourn? Okay, I move we adjourn.
Thank you.
I vote yes.
Yes, is there a vote now that you've seconded?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. If you want to turn your mic off.
Did you get my email about the ship?
Did everybody turn the mics off?
Yes.
You can have